Since Superman first appeared on the page back in 1938, there have been countless interpretations of the character via radio serials, television shows, feature films, animated projects, and other non-comic book material that have sought to introduce the character to new audiences. After a few years off the airwaves, the Man of Steel returned to the screen in 2001 for the WB-turned-CW series Smallville, telling the origin story of a teenage Clark Kent, Tom Welling, as he grew into Superman. Smallville got one thing right about the DC Comics character that other live-action adaptations have failed to highlight: the importance of his relationship with his adoptive parents. Jonathan and Martha Kent are responsible for instilling Superman with his moral compass. Jonathan, Martha, and Clark Kent from Smallville image via the WB. While the earliest Superman comic books didn't highlight Ma and Pa Kent's influence on their son's crime-fighting career, back when they were Sarah and Eben Kent or Mary and John Kent, depending on the project, it wasn't long before they became staples of the Man of Steel's greater and ever-expanding mythology. Beginning with issues of Adventure Comics and Superboy during the Silver Age, 1956 to 1970, which often retold the younger years of Superman back when he was still the Boy of Steel, Martha and Jonathan Kent became the definitive Mom and Pa Kent. Under those names, Superman's parents ended up being the most important people in his life, shaping who he would become. Not everyone is equipped to handle parenting a superpowered alien from Krypton, but the Kent's moral backbone and tough work ethic were the perfect combination for a young Clark to learn what he needed. Over time, DC Comics flipped the script. While Jonathan usually dies before seeing Clark become Superman, or soon after, DC Comics began to keep both parents alive well into adulthood, beginning with the Man of Steel reboot penned by John Byrne. Richard Donner's Superman. The movie took to the old ways of doing things, but the comics kept them around. Following suit, Smallville does exceptionally well at utilizing Jonathan, John Schneider, and Martha, Annette O'Toole, to guide Clark as he discovers his powers. Throughout the first 5 seasons, as Clark learns all his Kryptonian physiology can do, Jonathan and Martha are there to help. Without Jonathan's guidance concerning each new ability and Martha's complete support along the way, Smallville's Clark Kent would never have become Superman. This becomes more evident the longer the show goes on, highlighted in Luthor Season 10, Episode 10, which depicts a broken world where Clark was raised by Lionel Luthor, John Glover, and turns out just like him. Clark's parents give him unwavering support in Smallville. Tom Welling shirtless in a cornfield as Clark Kent in Smallville image via Warner Brothers. Part of growing up is making mistakes and learning from them. Rarely in Superman-related media do we ever see Clark make drastically poor decisions. He screws up like any flawed hero, but not quite on the same level as Smallville's Clark Kent. Over 10 seasons, Clark blows up his life, pushes his loved ones away, triggers his mother's miscarriage, and is ultimately the reason his father dies in the series' 100th episode, Reckoning. Yet, Clark learns from those mistakes every single time, becoming a better person and a better hero because of them. For example, when Clark willingly puts on his red kryptonite ring in Exodus Season 2, Episode 23, and leaves Smallville, he does so in part because he's ashamed of what he's done. However, his folks never give up on him, nor do they refuse to forgive their son for his foolishness. In fact, Jonathan even makes a deal with Jor-El, Terrence Stamp, to save Clark from his own reckless ways, a contributing factor to his later death. By doing so, Clark is forced to deal with the consequences of his actions. Because of Clark's penchant for good, a trait instilled in him by the Kents, he's often willing to put his own life on the line, powers or no powers, for the sake of others. He believes in Lex, Michael Rosenbaum, because his parents taught him to look for the best in people. Coincidentally, Clark stops trusting Lex later on, following in Jonathan's judgmental footsteps.